hope that you enjoy. A quick thank you to the T5 peeps: TheDragon, Datamagnet, Cat Crab Lobster, DuckMachine, Try Again 95, Astraya the Dreamer, Mezec, Feudic Jarl, Germanchemist, Casper Arnholtz, and Chaos to Must. Thank you very much. Story number 1. The Human's God, written by VulDwiin. Vendlick was in the bar pub in a hole, slowly drinking away his sorrows and quietly mumbling to himself. From across the bar, the Niralong and the Branglath were arguing with one another. Bored and half drunk, he listened to what they were arguing about. "I'm telling you, those humans are terrifying. I can't even look into their thoughts. When I try, something pushes me back." "Well, they don't have psionics, so that's why you can't read them." "What? So you're telling me they haven't got a god?" Blendig grew repulsed at the Branglish uttered and chimed in. "They have one, you know." The bar silenced as the old cook uttered his words. The Niralang replied, "Old man, if you have a god, then why didn't you receive the gift almost every other species has?" Venlock stared into the blank space and then spoke. "Because the god didn't need to gift him anything. Tell me, what is a god?" "A god is a creator," Venlock interrupted. "No. A god is an entity that exists in a species' psychospace, a representation of a species in their purest form. The humans have one, but, Venlock sighed. "This will be a long story. Gather round." The bar turned their hearing organs towards the old Drakuk, and he spoke about the humans. When humanity entered the galactic stage, they were welcoming, hopeful, and were curious of the galaxy at large. Of course, no one paid any attention to them. A new civilization being found was growing old. They were deemed simple, and simply were left to do as they wished in the solar neighborhood, without studying them or even looking into them. After a period of several decades, they started to encroach on our borders, and per our procedures, we were to study the species and properly evaluate them. When we discovered they were not psionic to any extent, we were shocked. Most of the species were psionic, if not capable of simple psionic tasks. We guessed that they never had a god that blessed him with psionic abilities, but no species to date had no god. So we took our best and traversed into human psychospace. I was one of those sent in. The team consisted of a psionics expert, a biologist, a physicist, and me, the commander of the expedition. Ready and raring, we descended into their shared subconscious. It was all bright all the way down, flashing lights, crazed noises, but when we finally reached our destination, we found nothing. An endless void. This was most unusual, as most species would have their psychospace filled with thousands of lights and sounds. But here was nothing. Everyone in the bar was started mumbling and even shouting at the old being, but it continued despite their arguments. We explored the empty space, searching for anything that would show even a trace of a god. Nothing. The only things there was me and my team. As we were leaving, the void around us itself shaped into a human-like form. At first it looked like a normal shining in the dark like a god would, but when we noticed its body was visibly decayed and rotting, and its head was no human head, it was a rhombus-like with lines running through its center. Where its hand should be, there was only bone and decaying skin, bleeding out. Despite all of its wounds and almost shattered physiology, it seemed almost unaffected. Suddenly, hands cut off from the wrists, visibly bleeding, grabbed one of the team members and ever so slowly began to peel off his skin. We tried to run, but the god rooted us to the ground and made us watch every single agonizing moment. When he finally died, it turned its head to us, and I swear, despite it being incapable of showing any emotion, I felt like it was mocking us. It consumed the rest of the team, but left me as it tortured those around me. Then, as it finished the last of my team, it turned to me, and ever so slowly produced a sound from all around me. Its words were incomprehensible, yet clear as day to me. Its motives were convoluted, yet so perfect. Whatever it was human in their true form, cruel, mocking, and undeniably powerful. And do you want to know what I understand from its thousands of words? No gift was needed, for we are your punishment. That is why, to this day, I fear humanity. The old Drakak's word echoed through the now silent bar. He drank what was in his glass, stood up, and left the room. A few days later, the Drakak was found dead in his room. Later, authorities found he had died via immense psionic piercing, resulting in him losing his entire conscious state. A few days later, a human came. End of story. Story number 2. Human Chairs, written by a glass of whiskey. Dear readers, I am regretful to inform you that my article about the mysticism at the bottom of Argarian 5 has been cancelled. In its place, I have ventured into a lesser-known part of the galaxy, into one of its many spiraling arms, to meet one of the latecomers to our galactic union. Some of you might have already heard of these humans, and their extensive bodily augments might as well warn you already that what you have heard is true. For those not in the know, their augmentations are limitless. Their sturdy physiology has granted them the ability to do advanced work that would shock even a Mulok with basic tools. One of their earliest crude augmentations were created to fix broken bones by driving a metal rod through them. That they survived this in great enough numbers to be considered a viable medical treatment is a testament to this. Now, of course, all modern civilizations have augmentations. One of our readers might as well have an eye or brain extension, mayhaps an extra arm to help with everyday tasks. While many humans, on the other hand, are often mistaken for robots or other things. You can then imagine my excitement when I received an invitation to a tea party, a ceremoniously consumption of a specific kind of liquid of theirs. I was even told that this party was wondrous enough to be thematically inspired by one of their old fairy tales. A costume was required. However, by my ordinary clothes seemed to suffice. One of the perks of being so alien to them, no doubt. I had the most wondrous time. Some humans had switched augmentations just for this occasion, so as to be more like animals called cat and mouse. They looked marvelous, like something out of a fairy tale, which supposedly was the purpose, so good job there. The treatment of the guests was exemplary, although one woman, in a beautiful red dress, ran around threatening people with having their head cut off. Remarkably, no one was fazed by this in the slightest. Another strange fellow was someone referred to as Matt, although he seemed quite sane to me, that had an obsession of hats and seemed to be in possession of copious amounts of them. Nicely enough, he even gave me one. I looked terribly stylish. As for the liquid consumed, it was most delicious, with a wide range of drinking instruments made available, some of them more creative, but with limited utility. Many guests seemingly took great delight in drinking out of their own hats. Through it all, greeting every human turned into a surprising challenge. I mistook something called a coat hanger for a human, but that was far from the worst of it. Despite all mental preparations, it's difficult to grasp the true extent of human augmentation and how they may appear. So I must confess that I sat on one of the guests. It seemed like an ordinary chair to me at the time. When it began to speak and asks for some of the liquid, my apologies were many, but apparently this was just how it was supposed to be. I'm told that he became quite famous in his circle of chairs for being one of the only humans being sat on by one of my species. So, if you ever get invited to a human tea party, take them up on it and grate everything you see. The occasional coat hanger notwithstanding, you might get a response from the strangest of things. End of story. And that, my friends, concludes this video